Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Post Credits here on the Let's Get Ready Network. I'm Adelia. I'm here with Justin, Matt, and Brandi. We watched episodes 5 and 6 of season 2 of Daredevil, and we're here to talk about them. How you guys doing tonight?
Pretty good, thank you.
Tired. That's why you're running this thing.
I'm tired
Yeah.
too.
I think we're all tired, but it's cold and snowy here. Like, it's just one of those days.
Freezing here.
Yeah. It's even cold where Justin is. I will admit, it is cold where Justin is right
That's right. It's in the 30s. That's cold.
That's cold. Yeah. -4 here as we record this. Not that it's a contest.
Feels like 8 here.
Yeah. It's just cold, is basically what it gets down to. Episode 5 and 6 of Daredevil is our first real interactions with Elektra in this season. She showed up at the end of episode 4 in Matt's apartment, and we sort of pick up episode 5 with a flashback to 10 years prior to present day in the show when Matt meets Elektra at a party that him and Foggy are crashing.
Yeah.
They sort of bond over their thrill-seeking nature and start to have some fun together. What did you guys think of this flashback intro to Elektra?
It was interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I was supposed to see how she sized him up real quick, but then her opinion changed on him.
Yeah.
I know what scene Matt liked.
It was surprising to me for them to show Daredevil kind of like doing things he shouldn't be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not kind of. He's breaking the law all the way up to the point to where he only has a problem whenever she gets home dude that ended up affecting his life. Back when he was a kid. And, then he's like, well, I'm not going to cross the line of killing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like he was like breaking the law and stuff like that. So like him going to school, being a lawyer and stuff, like I was kind of like, what man was out here like doing all this?
Mm-hmm.
What crazy things?
I like the hairstyle he had. I was like, it was just like all.
Yeah, their way of making Matt in college versus Matt in real days, the hairstyle.
It was no difference. I was like, did he just roll out of bed? Like, first I didn't realize it was a flashback at first. I was like, what on earth is this? And I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I get it now.
So Matt had eventually revealed to Elektra about his abilities and that he lost his father because he was murdered by someone. He wasn't sure if this was the guy that pulled the trigger or not, but this was the guy that ordered it. If it didn't, Roscoe Sweeney, and that's the guy Justin was referring to there. When they break into the gym, and Brandi, I'll say this, when she turned it on, was like, sexual situations. Why is this telling me there's sexual situations? And she thought at first it would be between like Matt and Karen based on where we left them off in episode 4. But no, it's Matt and Elektra in the gym.
Well, at first I was like, you're like, oh, just watched, and like 30 seconds later, I'm like, oh, it's Elektra and Matt,
Yeah.
isn't it? And then he didn't say nothing, and Matt goes, there was side boob, and I was like, I figured it out.
Yeah. We also get the flashbacks with Elektra interspersed with present day in this episode, and at first we pick up right where the conversation starts with her and Matt in his apartment, where we left off on episode 4, and she wants his help getting her father's money out of the Roxxon Corporation. She wants to hire him to represent her at some meeting the very next day. And that's like, there's not enough time for me to do that. Discovery, research, all of that stuff. I can't do that. And she's like, well, you have 15 hours. Like, that's not enough time. Matt basically refuses to help her and tells her to get out of his apartment. He goes and spies on her meeting anyways.
Yeah.
And she sees him.
Remember, she turned that pen in and like hacked their system or some shit like that.
Walter said that she does hack the rock and to get information, and they know that it was her that did that. So, what do you guys think of all of that?
I'll go ahead and say this. I don't think anything about this whole like flashback and these scenes that we get were like bad, right? Like I actually thought they were pretty good. Like I would say I even liked it, but
Mm-hmm.
I do believe what I said like the last time that we were on here talking and with all the things with the Punisher that it was just bad luck that she gets introduced so close to like that,
Mm-hmm.
having the Punisher because although I didn't think this was bad, and like I said, I can kind of pull myself back and go like if this was before the Punisher stuff that in those two episodes that we got that was focused around the Punisher mainly, like I would have thought these were pretty good. And like I said, I'm not saying they're bad or anything, but it's just kind of bad luck. She gets introduced to me after the Punisher,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, it wasn't hitting the mark that the Punisher was. In
Yeah,
fact, few episodes, uh, I think, well, in this first episode, episode 5, I can't remember. We barely may like see the Punisher or whatever, but we do get a
I
little
don't
bit more of them in
I think that
episode.
was the
see him in episode
this,
6.
yeah,
Yeah,
episode
right.
6.
So, like in episode 6, when we see the Punisher again, even though he's like in a bed, I was still like enjoying the crap out of that, like a
Yeah.
little bit better, to be honest with you.
that
Okay.
was interesting scenes. I like those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just not. Elektra's just like meh to me. I'm like I don't know.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Mm.
I think Elodie Young, I believe her name is, the actress that plays Elektra. I think she does a phenomenal job as Elektra.
Mhm.
But I do agree with you, Justin, that like maybe they needed a
Yeah.
episode or two gap
Mhm.
between the those Punisher episodes and the introduction of Elektra.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Besides, like the mixture of the episodes we get, like or in episode 6, right when we start to get the mixture, like they would have had to rework that. But I would have almost liked to have seen Elektra come in before, and then you get the Punisher
And then you get the Punisher.
afterwards. Like I said, I think it just hurts her character because Punisher ended up being so good, so interesting, and all that stuff that like when you introduce her she is like you're like oh yeah okay cool and then like you get in episode 5 and like I said I enjoyed episode 5 like I mean I'm gonna give it a decent score but it was just like it just wasn't hitting like the episodes before it so like maybe she should have been introduced like before Punisher and we got some of her story and stuff and then we went into the Punisher stuff and then maybe we come back to her like doing something I think could have probably helped it out a little bit because I agree with you. I think she does like a pretty good job as far as like doing the scenes and all that. And like I've said, I enjoyed it. It just I don't enjoy it as at the level of the 2 Punisher episodes we got.
Yeah, those 2 Punisher episodes were spectacular, and these are very good. These 2 episodes we watched for this show, review, but I agree with you that like maybe a restructuring of how they introduced both of those 2 characters would have been better served for Elektra, because yeah, like it's hard to follow those 2 episodes of the Punisher.
Oh yeah, no, I mean they were that good. So like that's what I'm saying. It's like it's just hard. Like because like I said, that's why I mentioned it. It's like man, Electra's going to have a tough act to follow. And my example is you're the person having to go up and give like your report in front of the speech class, but like the person right in front of you had everybody standing up and applauding because it was the most amazing speech they've ever heard. And then you
Yeah.
got to follow that up, even though yours may be good. It's going to pale in comparison to the thing that came right before it. And so it's just one of those kind of tough things. And but like I will say this, usually in the middle of a season, which is where we're at right now, is in the middle of season 2, you're always going to have a little bit of a lull.
Well,
Sometimes it's like a lot of like story because you're trying to build up. We had that a little bit with season one of Daredevil, right? The a few middle episodes got a little slower. We were getting a little bit more of the story, which overall can make like the full season really good, right? Because you need some of that stuff to happen. And I think
Right.
that's kind of happening here in the middle of this season as well. But I'm gonna say this: like when you watch shows that have the same kind of thing happening, where in the middle it may get a little lax, or it comes down a little bit, uh, it's usually like, man, I can skip those. Like if you do a rewatch of something, right? You might skip those couple of episodes. You already know what's going on, but there's not a lot of excitement. But I will say that these are way better than that. So, like, if these are the so-called like kind of brings you down a little bit episode or whatever, they're still like very interesting and still very good. I mean, like I said, in the second episode, we talk about episode 6. We get the Punisher back, and we still got a mixture of her as well. And I just think all that stuff is good, and it's interesting, and it's good, like storytelling, um, with her and stuff like that. And it's one of those things too. Like, it doesn't affect me at all, but I could see like say Brandi, because she likes things differently than I do. She loves like the romance stuff or whatever and all that good thing. So I could see some people being kind of turned off a little bit that you finally get uh, Matt and Karen, having their little thing happening, but then it kind of gets interrupted by this woman out of nowhere and kind of throws something into it. So I could see some people not liking her character because she gets put in the middle of Matt and Karen first actually starting to like intermingle and kind of possibly be with each other and start like this relationship. She's kind of like the ex-girlfriend that comes out of nowhere and all of a sudden starts talking to the guy, or it could go the other way, like the girl's ex-boyfriend starts talking to her like right after they meet this new person that they really like.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there. But we'll see how all of that develops, because there's not really much that does that in these two episodes. But we'll see, because Elektra isn't going anywhere. Matt tells her to get on a plane and leave New York City, and she was like, "No, I can't do that."
Mm.
So, yeah. So, in this episode, we also get a flashback to when Elektra takes Matt to this house, and they're in the house and they're in the kitchen, and she just starts breaking glasses, and then all of a sudden, someone shows up at the house. She says it's an old friend of her father's, and we find out that instead it's actually Roscoe Sweeney, who is the man responsible for Matt's father's death. And this is the scene you were talking about earlier, Justin, where basically she tells Matt, let's kill him, and Matt won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an important moment, because not only is that important for Matt's character and like knowing that like he got there and he was faced with the man who was responsible for his father's death, and Matt says he didn't want to kill him, I think is very important for the character of Daredevil and why he is the way he is with not killing people when they fight. But it's also a big moment with his relationship with Elektra, which basically ends at that moment because she disappears.
Yep.
This is one of those things, though, about some superhero characters that, to me, I don't get to a certain point, and that is this. Like, so, like, we'll take another superhero like Spider-Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for him not to kill people makes more sense. He's got the webbing and everything. So a lot of times, like, he can like just web the bad guys in place. The police show up, do their job, everything's cool. Like, he only uses like the physical, like getting in fights whenever it's like one of the big, like super villains or like, whatnot. He and if he has to, he may do like a couple of moves, but most of the time is to like disarm the enemy and stuff, especially when he's fighting just like regular crooks on the street. There's a lot of that involved. It's not a lot of physicality, right? He does a lot of dodging and weaving and everything else. And all that. And like I said, he'll like web them to a certain spot and the cops show up and that's the end of the deal. Where we got a character like Daredevil, especially how he's portrayed in the show, where he's like beating the crap out of that dude in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gives him the knife or whatever and says something about killing him, and he's got something wrong with killing him. Well, I got news for Daredevil. Like when you're hitting people like he is, with like the strength and power he is, he literally could kill any of these people with one shot, with a punch. People can die from that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like and everything else. So like he's literally like 1 millimeter away from just like uh killing someone anyway, right at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So it does to me kind of cheapen the him not killing like people and stuff. Like I get like it's trying to like showcase like his I guess thought process and all that good stuff, but then at the same time to me it's like, bro, any of these people you've hit with, like, I mean, for real, he's like fought people already in the show where he hits them with like actual weapons and like hits them upside the head. That could literally kill anybody. So like if
Yeah.
you're yeah, if you're so big on not killing people, I'm kind of like, yo, bro, like, how do you know you hadn't? To me, I could easily go back and see the scene that we just saw, like during the staircase scene, and be like, a couple of those guys might have died, like not instantly or whatever, but they might have died in the hospital or something.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, that's a good point, Justin. Matt, what did you think about all of this?
Yeah, I liked how she couldn't push him over the edge, but like I was kind of conflicted because it's like if that dude's such a bad guy and he's seen your face and shit and you beat the shit out of him, he's gonna come after you. Like something's got to happen to, you know what I mean, keep this guy
Yeah.
away from him. So I was a little conflicted during that scene. I don't know what I would have done, but it was good. I liked it.
no, it'd be a tough decision because, like, I told that story about holding my son for the first time and everything else, but that's like if somebody messes with like my son and everything. Now, if something like that were to have happened to my dad, and I had that person like dead to rights, that'd be a tough decision. It wouldn't be an automatic decision like it would be like if something were to happen to my son kind of situation. Like I think I would think about it a little more, but I don't know, man. I think I'd take his ass out, especially when you know they're like evil. Like there's a totally different situation when you don't know for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you know for sure, right? Like it's like, bro, this guy's bad. This guy's either hurt, killed multiple people over his lifespan, and you got this person here. And it's kind of like the Punisher says, like in one of the earlier episodes, like you let this guy go, how many more people does he have to hurt and kill before finally he's taken out or like stop finally completely?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of those things that you have, like the kind of dilemma that you have. It's like in the Last Jedi. A lot of people have problems with Luke Skywalker lighting up the lightsaber for a second, but he literally can see that like his nephew is possibly going to cause even more damage and harm than even his father, Darth Vader, did. So like when you're stuck in that situation, of course you're going to think about it for a second, like, right? So like Luke didn't ultimately make that ultimate decision of taking like Kylo Ren out at the time, but think about it, if he would have, there's like multiple millions of people in that planet star system that gets like blown up that never would have got killed, and that's kind of like a really tough decision to be in, to be just honest with you. But like even in that scene where he's like punching him in the face, he beats him so bad in the face, like you can see like the bones and stuff are like messed up in his face from being like broke and everything because of how bad he, like his face, the bad guy's face was getting like deformed, and that's what I'm saying. Like literally could die from that. Like
Mm-hmm.
you already got it to that point, and everything else. So it's just I get what they're trying to do, and they're trying to also make it like and it is a brutal show, which I actually do like and everything. So uh, I'm not critiquing this and saying like, "Oh, this is horrible." I'm just saying like I look at these things as like in a personal way of like if I'm in that position kind of deal, and then I also think about like, bro, Daredevil, you have this line that you won't cross, and I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's like you probably have already accidentally killed people because of how bad you beaten that ass. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like if I touch Brandy, half her body falls apart. You know what I'm saying? Like,
What?
bam! If I did that, if I did that.
Not that again. Not that again.
Do you see
Brandon, what
that?
did you think of this scene?
I think I'd punch Justin out if he. You see those guns?
Yeah.
Come on, fall apart. Get out of here. Um,
4'10" of dynamite right there, guys.
I'm 5'2". Thank you.
It's hard to tell.
Anyway, 5'2". I don't know. I don't know. The Electra stuff didn't really pull me in because I get like Justin said, the Punisher stuff was good. That I'm like, when she came in, I'm like, yeah, I like her, but it's like, it didn't really grab me. So I was like, I don't know. It's just meh. I didn't really care really too much for her stuff.
Yeah.
So I was,
This
I mean, I watched it, but I don't feel like I absorbed it.
yeah.
You know?
I will say that I think that this season was affected by the fact that they had Defenders planned
Mm,
because the stuff with Elektra ties into Defenders.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
And so I think they like wanted to do Punisher, but then also had to do Elektra in this season. And I think it probably would have been better served to save Elektra for another season and just make this season strictly Punisher, like the first season was strictly Wilson Fisk.
mhm.
I will say that about this season. Um, but they had Defenders, and they had to get the characters to a certain spot by the end of this season for Defenders, which
Yeah,
we will
because
be
I felt like
watching.
it was fast. Because
Yeah.
then they went back to the stuff and like he's like right away telling her everything, like, well, my father, this and no one about the
Like
eyesight and everything. It was so quick to me.
Mhm.
Like
the
it didn't
well,
really have a build up. I think if it had
that's
a build up more, I would have probably liked.
that's why I say that they probably should have started with her first. Like have the first couple of episodes be where she gets introduced and she's put into the thing because she's interesting enough and all that. For one, you would have had her before the Matt Murdock and Karen got like super like into each other or whatever, right? So she wouldn't have been in the way of that. And then on top of that, I feel like she was just interesting enough, and the story they were telling with it was good enough to keep you wrapped up the first two episodes of the season or so. Then you jump into Punisher, and then, like I said, you will still remember Elektra fondly. The thing
Mhm.
about it is like I was saying, because you come after it, you know, it's like you go to a concert and the band before the headliner is like really super good, and then the headliner comes out and you're kind of like disappointed because it's like, man, that band before them was so great, or that comedian before the star comedian came out was so fucking funny, and I don't find myself laughing as much on this guy, and he's supposed to be like the big time. That you are kind of like a little disappointed with it or whatever, and that's kind
Mhm.
of what you're getting here. But like I said, I don't think it's necessarily fair because I do think that these episodes weren't bad. Like I know it sounds like we're crapping on it a little bit but it's one of those things that comes with the territory of following behind something that was so good and powerful. It's like you said, 3 and 4 is like your two favorite episodes, I think, of Daredevil. Period.
Yeah.
Not just season 2, but like a period, and then you have to follow that up, and it's just one of those things that, like I said, I it came to. Sometimes I'm wrong, man, but sometimes I get it right. And I just think it was just unfair. When I saw her at the end of she throws like the throwing star or whatever it is at Daredevil and he catches it. And I see her, I'm like, man, I have a feeling she's going to be kind of cool because they do all the characters in this show really well. But like, she's not going to be uh, the great, like, it's just going to be sad. She's coming after Punisher got put in. And then I was like upset because I wasn't going to get no more Punisher. But then we do get some more. And like I said, he does such a damn good job. He's strapped in a freaking hospital bed. He can't even move.
Mhm.
And like I'm still encaptured when he shows back up in this season.
Yeah,
That
I got more interested in that because when Karen came and he like told the other ones to get out and was talking to Karen and he knew that she knew something, and then he found she told them about family. But I also liked her going to the paper and going to the dude
Yeah.
and
Let's
ask the
let's
boss.
move on to episode 6 then, because that's when all that stuff happens.
Mhm.
Episode 5 ends with Elektra and Matt at her apartment fighting the Yakuza,
Yeah.
and we sort of uh, pick right up with that at the start of episode 6. They defeat those people from the Yakuza, and Elektra tells them that the Yakuza are up to something big in New York. So Matt reluctantly agrees to keep helping her, and then we switch back to what's going on with Karen and Foggy and Matt, and Karen is like really convinced that Frank Castle had something done to him
Mhm.
and isn't just this completely insane guy like they're making him out to be in the news. So she does go to the paper. Actually, I think that might be in episode 5. I don't remember. I watched them back to back, so they blend together. Um, but she does go to the paper and sort of search their archives for stuff
Mhm.
that could help her figure out what happened to Frank Castle's family. And I do like that stuff at the paper where the guy's like, I don't know what you're doing here, and
Mhm.
then that story was well researched and everything that they had printed,
Mhm.
and the paper stuff. I just wish Ben was still around.
Yeah, I wish he was still around for that too. That would have been a good story with them too.
Now,
Yeah,
I did like Ben overall on the show and in season 1 and everything else, but I will say this, that I am interested in the guy who's like the leader of the paper, I guess the editor or whatever,
the editor. Yeah,
because like he is a very interesting and well done character to me, because like he always does or says something and you're kind of like, man, this guy, is he legit? What's up with this guy? Like we all thought that he, or at least I thought, and then I thought they did a very good job, that he was going to be like the bad person when it came to the newspaper because his interaction with Ben. And then like we have the interaction with Karen here, and he's kind of all around. We did this, like almost, how dare you come in and say like we didn't like do the story good or something at first, but then
Mhm.
like then he kind of like does a switcheroo on you because he's like super okay with her checking stuff out and even lets her do it, and then at the
Well, he
end,
probably sees potential in her, like he saw
right?
in Ben. Even though Ben was a pain in his ass sometimes, but like she's
Yeah,
like, okay, this one's gonna be a pain in my ass too, but let's see what she's got, you know. So
But
he
like
lets
he,
her.
yeah, but he came out at the end there and was able to find out some information that
Hmm.
kind of helped her out, like when he remembered that stuff and helped her find it and everything else. But like, so I just give the actor props because like he does a very good job of like you kind of not knowing where he stands sometimes, and I think that makes his character more interesting than just being
yeah,
like a super good guy all the time or whatever. Like he says some things that make you think for a second, like wait 1 second, and then he like ends up doing like a good thing or whatever. So he has like he's just he's a more interesting side character than you
You kind
normally
of
would
don't know
get.
where he's at because at first I thought he might have been the one to dime Ben out and be under Fisk's thumb,
Yep.
but it wasn't him; it was somebody else. But you
Right.
don't know where he lies.
right.
But like even in this episode, it sounded like he was going to be a total douchebag to her, right? But then he turns
Hmm.
out helps her out, and he even like I think I think at one point he brings her something to drink, or then asks her like, "Hey, you still doing it?" And then he's kind of impressed that she's still like doing the
That
whole
she didn't
thing and
give
all
up.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like, uh, like I said, his character is way more interesting of like a little side plot character than you get in most shows. So I give him props for that because a lot of times these characters are just going to be like a one note uh thing, not too many, but I do like the actor, so
Mhm.
like I don't miss Ben as much because I do think he's doing a pretty decent job. So that's what I'll say about that, even though I liked Ben. I thought Ben was cool too.
Yeah, Matt, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I liked it, but it led to a scene where I'm like, what is she doing again? When she breaks into Punisher's house and she steals that picture, I'm like, who is this chick? Like, dude, she
Yeah,
does everything. Like, she tricks Ben, she breaks into Punisher's house and steals. Like, I don't know. I'm conflicted about Karen sometimes. I'm like, what kind of character is this chick?
Yeah, no, I kind of
She's a
agree with.
curious. She's a
I
curious
will
one.
say that I agree with almost everything Matt has said in a few episodes of us talking about the show. Because I will say this: the weakest thing about the show, as far as like everything else about the show to me, is super well done, super well written. And even some of the things she does is that as well. But I do agree with Matt. The weakest part of the show, and it's not enough to like bring it down and make it unenjoyable, obviously, because I mean we've been giving high scores to most of these episodes that we've seen and enjoyed the series so far, and I'm still enjoying the series, obviously. But with Karen, I would say it is like some of the weakest writing because it seems like we've got everything else super tight, but with the Karen character, it's like, okay, when we need things to happen or we
Yeah.
need things to be found out,
Yeah.
Karen's the one to do it, whether it makes sense or not. We're just going to have Karen. We're going to give her a spot to go out there and do something, give her some more screen time kind of situation. She's going to be the one that
She's
finds out this
curious. She's
information.
a
No,
curious.
I get
She's a,
that.
she's a
But
character that's curious and needs to go and find things. So she doesn't think about the consequences. She just does it.
to me, though, I don't think you could complain about any of this things that she's done if they would have done something with her character. Like
Or we
between,
just go, oh no, what's she doing now? Like, oh no, she's gonna get caught. Oh, what is she doing? Girl, get out of there. But that
well,
that gives you the like, oh my god, the anxiousness. Like, oh my god, what is she doing?
no,
Like,
no,
Karen,
what
you gotta get
Matt,
out of there before you get caught. You know what I mean?
right.
Like,
But Matt's not complaining about that. What Matt's complaining about is technically she's like a secretary that's being able to get into all these places
Yeah.
that she shouldn't be able to get into. And like I said, to me, between season 1 and season 2, it would have been really cool. It doesn't even have to be on screen. It could have been something that was said or any of that to me that would change that whole situation. And it was a pretty easy thing to do. Would have been like, so during the gap between the 2 seasons, she like studied and became like something more than a secretary, right? You know what I'm saying?
she always was, because how she was introduced was because of the stuff that she knew from her job that she wasn't supposed to know. You know, like, so
Yeah.
that's her. That's been her since the
It is.
beginning.
This is just the way Karen
Yeah,
is.
I get why she's doing all this stuff, but also can understand where Matt's coming from. Like, it doesn't bother me. I think it does. It doesn't bother me as much because, like I've said it plenty of times, I can deal with like this. It's not that big of a thing because the rest of the show that surrounds it's really done super well. So this I don't even really notice or I don't even think about until Matt brings it up. But when Matt brings it up, I do think it's a legit thing that
See, it doesn't
technically,
make sense, but it makes sense.
well, if she had the power, like I said, if they gave her a reason to be able to do things that she's doing, then I think that wipes away any kind of criticism that you could have on that. Like I said, the only way that the
Don't
criticism works,
underestimate the power of a woman's mind. We are detectives and can find shit out. So that's why I don't have no problem with it, because I know how we can be. And you can get into stuff that you like, get too deep into something. And that's the kind of person she is like, oh, she hears about this, she's gotta research it, gotta try to find all the info, and she gets into stuff that she might not should be getting into, but she does. And I
no,
like
I mean,
that. I like that about her.
Yeah. My problem is just she operates way above her pay grade. Like, that's all.
But it's her because she's curious, George. So she's not getting paid to do all this stuff, but
you
she's
know,
gonna go and do it.
they could do this to where I think it would take like, so for instance, I'm trying to come up with ways that would be like take Matt's one criticism out of the way, right? As if she had gotten like some kind of a degree or something, like she had worked on it like between the seasons or something like that. And it gets mentioned that, oh, you're not just a secretary now, you're like, because you have this degree now, like she's got like a different label or name.
It's
But
only
That doesn't matter.
it's only a few months between season 1 and end of season 1 and beginning of season 2. There's like no time for her to have studied and gotten a degree in anything.
yeah,
But
I mean,
but
because
me
I
and
don't,
Adelia know stuff, and we don't have degrees in this stuff, but we know it and we know how to do it.
but I also
She's
think if she
just
actually,
a secretary, by the way. She's always been more than just a secretary.
Mm-hmm.
no, I mean, I'd kind of agree with that to a certain point, and like I understand some of the stuff she does. The other thing I would say is like to me, it would make it more interesting because she's sticking her nose in there. That she actually, not saying all the time, but like once or twice actually gets like say called doing something, and then like say Matt's got to like show up and be like, no, you know, like this and this, because you know, like while she's trying to dig into stuff. Like to me, the like, because Matt's bringing this up about the newspaper thing, to me, she's kind of doing like a job I would see that was cool. Like I don't have no problem with her being in the newspaper thing and the guy letting her look at old newspapers. Like you, I mean, technically, you could be like somebody doing a book report, like for school, And if you probably went through the right channels, you probably could get your hands on like old newspapers and stuff and be able to look through some of the things. So
Yeah.
um, I don't think in this or this part of the thing is that big of a deal at all. Period. To be honest with you.
Okay. So Karen's found out more about Frank, and they get visited by the public defender that has been assigned to Frank's case. And he basically tells them, yeah, the DA, Reyes, is just waiting for them to link Frank to these murders in Delaware so they can extradite him and he can get the death penalty. And it's clearly obvious that this public defender is just going to go along with whatever Reyes tells him because he doesn't see the need to actually defend Frank in this situation. And that just sits wrong with Karen. And eventually, Foggy and Matt agree, let's go talk to him and offer our services to be his lawyers. So they go to the hospital. They run into Brett Mahoney, who's gotten a promotion. He's now a detective sergeant, or whatever they said his title is. And they talk to Brett and they tell him, look, we just want to talk to him and offer our services as lawyers. And Brett lets them in there.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk to Frank, and this is when Karen shows him the photo of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, where did you get that? And she just flat out tells him, I broke into your house.
Mm-hmm.
And then Reyes shows up and she orders them out. And I loved the conversation between Matt and Reyes after this, where Reyes is trying to just like be the boss and tell them what to do and tell them to stay the hell away from Frank Castle and don't get involved in this case and all this. And Matt's like, well, you're not supposed to be talking to him without his lawyer present either. And, you know, he has the right to hear from us if we want to offer our services to be his lawyer. He doesn't have to have a public defender. He can have an actual, like, outside lawyer for his case. And Reyes is about to tell them to leave again, and that's when Brett comes in and says he wants them as his lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
I thought all of this was really fascinating. Like you said, Punisher is in that hospital bed. He's healing up, but he's all bruised. His face is all bruised. He's got stitches, and he's strapped to the bed. Like, he cannot leave the bed. And I just find this stuff with Punisher to be so fascinating, especially the conversation that follows with Karen over the photo and his family and what the house was like and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff in the hospital was just really, really fascinating to me. What'd you think?
I liked it too. Probably one of my favorites. Even though, yeah, Karen doesn't, whatever. She's one trying to find things out and knowing that something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
No, yep. I enjoy it. Enjoy everything with the Punisher. Even him laying in the hospital bed makes it like interesting having him just there as a presence, and what have you. Because like this actor and this character kind of like won me over in those few episodes. So anything involving him and him being around it makes it really good television. And I do like the fact that like sometimes I think that like shows or even movies sometimes like tries to like bring down characters to make another character look better or whatnot. So like in this whole Reyes and Murdoch situation here, I don't think any of them's kind of like Murdoch steps up, right, and comes up with a couple of things and then kind of puts her a little bit in her place. But like she still has power and stuff there. They didn't have to make her like super weak or anything in this conversation. She still holds her ground to a certain point, even though she technically would lose in this argument or whatnot. But she still has presence and everything. I just do not like it, like when you try to like take characters or whatnot and kind of like just kind of push them to the ground so that the other one can stand up. To me, that's like lazy writing when you can't like do it in a more creative way. And this is definitely not lazy writing. Like I said, most of these episodes and most of this show so far, I thought was super, like really done well. Season 1 and now into season 2. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was like really just good conversation between all the characters, all that good stuff. And yeah, man, like really can't say anything bad about any of it. And then like Electra almost pisses me off, right? Because we're getting this stuff and we're trying to help freaking Punisher. And then like she comes in and kind of like here at the very end of what you just talked about, the next thing that happens is Electra's like sending a car from Murdoch and taking him away from the team again. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like interested in this. Screw you, Electra. You know what I'm saying? Even though, like I said, her stuff ain't super terrible, the other stuff's super good. And then on top of that, I just can't believe that you got a guy that obviously is killing bad guys. Like he's taking out these gangs and shit. I ain't gonna lie. If I lived in Hell's Kitchen, I'd be like, hell yeah. I want to get that guy's autograph, man. Like he's like cleaning up the shit, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like he's out there like robbing people on the streets and shit. He's killing people that you know are bad. Like, you know, the names of their groups are just bad names. Like, you know, the murder dogs or whatever the hell they are.
The
Like, you know,
dogs of hell.
kill the dogs of hell. You know what I'm saying? Send their
Yeah.
ass back to Hades with Cerebrus over there, bros. You know what I'm saying? I just pulled out something out the tank right there, real nerdy. Cerebrus is that three-headed dog that actually comes from Hades. You know what I'm saying? So like, but no, I'd be cheering for the Punisher. I'd be like, hell yeah, take these people off the street. Like, look, I don't condone violence against people that aren't like clear cut, like murderers and stuff like that. But if you like, there's a line to be drawn there too. It's like these people are murderers and all of that. You know what I'm saying? They don't sit around knitting, you know, and all that. They're out there, you know, killing folks and shit. So,
I would
like,
like to see the dogs of hell knitting now that you mention it.
I mean, get their ass out the street. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, there's a line to be drawn. I like I said, I will never condone violence against like nonviolent people. People, even if they're doing so-called a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Like that may be shades of gray. But when the shade of gray is out there and it's a definite like evil shit going on, bro. Like I might give your ass a high five. I might be trying to get into the hospital room just to say hello and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey man, thank you. And I don't believe that like nobody is standing around. To me, it would be cool if, and I think they've even done this in like one of the Batman movies or something like that, right? Maybe even in Superman to a certain point. Now, I think Superman they do the opposite, where it's people trying to complain because he's messed up some shit. But like in like Batman, I think they've done this before and everything. Like have some people outside the hospital, like let him go, let him go, let him. You know what I'm saying? I just think there's going to be some people that live in that neighborhood that's glad this trash is getting taken out.
Oh, I'm sure there probably are.
I
Sure
just
there
have,
probably are.
I just have to. I'm sorry, I'm cracking up over here because you just listened to Justin and like he says like so many times.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever.
I also want to point out that we don't condone murder on this show.
No, we
or this
don't.
channel. Even if you are murdering the people who are murdering other people, we still don't condone murder. So don't do that.
We are talking about a fictional show.
I know.
Because like
I'm just saying.
Like I'll say this again, because in real life, the person doing these things are going to probably make a bunch of mistakes, even if they were trying to do it for the good reason or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They're going to make mistakes and take out innocent people. So, like in real life, we don't need this crap to ever happen, period, because you're going to open the door to a bunch of damn chaos and everything. But in a fictional show like we're talking about, you know, some of these people would be cheering, you know what I'm saying? But I even think in real life we'd have like people, if they presume the guy was taking out bad people or something like that, to be like cheering. You know, I ain't gonna lie. Listen.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know.
Matt, what did you think of all this?
Yeah, I'll just echo what everyone else said. It was great to see the Punisher again. See that he's doing it. He didn't get hurt too bad.
Yeah, he's hurt, bro.
He is.
He got that damn drill in his foot.
He
Yeah.
did, yeah. Part of them convincing Frank that they should be his lawyers was telling him that Reyes wants him dead for some reason. And so they arrange a plea deal with Reyes. Frank will plead guilty on all counts, and he will get this plea deal. And so the judge comes in with Reyes, and Froggy and Karen are there, and it's ready for Frank to enter his plea. And he looks right at Reyes and says, "I plead not guilty." which is not what was the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so Reyes is pissed, and she, as soon as the judge ends the proceedings, she basically storms out of the room. And Foggy's freaking out because, oh my god, now they have to actually defend him in court as his lawyers, and he needs to talk to Matt. But Matt is with Elektra at a Roxxon Corporation gala
Mm-hmm.
where they steal a key card from somebody and go upstairs and find a very interesting Yakuza ledger about what they've been up to, which includes a lot of human trafficking. And then Elektra finds an entry in there that she can't read because it's in some sort of code.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what did you think of the gala stuff? Like the way that they got out of being caught, I thought was really clever,
Uh-huh.
actually.
Yeah, it was. I actually enjoyed that part.
I do want to butt in real quick with just one simple comment here. I don't know what gala they had, and it's like in New York,
Mm-hmm.
but listen, I just congratulate them from wearing normal ass shit compared to the stuff that y'all be covering when y'all do y'all's little show and y'all cover galas. Oh my god, bro!
The
Like at
Met
least it
Gala
was
is different.
The Met Gala is
no,
very different.
that gala should be shut down because I've seen the crap that y'all be covering with those people wearing that shit they be wearing. It don't make no sense. They should shut it down.
It's
I,
they gotta
although
be different.
you know maybe they shouldn't shut it down because they give y'all an excuse to get together and do a show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they be
Mm-hmm.
wearing stupid stuff. But
Check
it's
out
like,
the
bro,
What on Earth Are They Wearing episodes on the channel now.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of did like a double thing there. I'm advertising one of our other things that we have on this same channel here. But yeah, man, what these people, I was just amazed that it was like a gala and there was people just wearing normal clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what
that's a gala does have wear kind of like normal like dresses and but
Yeah.
you dress up, but not over the top like the Met Gala. That's a little bit different
yeah, I
It's
think
in
very
that
and of itself
where's the Met Gala held every year?
at the Met
at the Met in
in
New
New
Where's
York.
York.
that at?
New York.
Oh, okay. So there is a bunch of crazy folks in New York.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Justin, we're gonna go. I'll show you. We'll just sit in Times Square. We'll just sit in Times Square and people watch.
Yeah. Matt, what did you think of this part with the gala and everything?
Yeah, I actually fell asleep at the end of the episode, so I forgot about this.
Wow, bro, my boy Matt said he just fell asleep. I will say you might want to go back and watch it because it I can see if you were super tired at the time, like whenever they're just kind of like hanging out for a minute or two in the episode, like it kind of does get a little boring, but then it picks up pretty good because they have to escape and all that good shit, and they have to
Yeah.
beat people up and everything. And then there's a scene that you'd really like when they're acting like they're having sex in one of the rooms to get away. Was
There
pretty
wasn't no
creative.
side boobs, so sorry. Matt might not like that.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
Matt might not like that scene.
She does rip her dress up really high so that she can move better at one point.
Hmm.
You didn't miss
Except,
that.
we're afraid Matt has narcolepsy and just falls asleep during things.
Yeah.
Every time.
We sort of skipped over the scene where Frank talked to Karen on his own. He basically kicks
Mhm.
Foggy out of his room and talks strictly to Karen, and Karen helps him remember some of the memories of his family that he'd
Mhm.
sort of lost, which I thought was a really nice, beautiful scene between the two of them.
Mhm.
But
I've kind of hinted at it before, and then you're like, we're not on that episode yet. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay.
I did like that scene with them when he kicked Foggy out and was like, I just
Yeah.
want to talk to Karen. Yeah.
He's like asking her, like, are the dishes done at the
Mhm.
house and
Mhm.
stuff like that, because he never went back to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
house. So I just found that to be a really well done scene. And then the episode ends with Daredevil going back to his apartment, finding Foggy in there, and Foggy's like, "Well, you weren't answering your phone, so I had to come over because Reyes is so pissed that Frank didn't take the plea deal. She's fast tracked the trial, and so the People versus Frank Castle begins the following week.
Hmm.
They don't have much time to figure out how they're going to defend him."
Yeah. So one of the things that I do find missing, even in season one, a little bit, even though we got like the one episode that has something in it, I do think like I like courtroom dramas if they're done well,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I actually do think with the people that they have as the stars here and the actors and actresses, whatever, like that they could actually have some really fun stuff in the courtroom. And with him being a lawyer like that, I do think it's lacking a little bit of, man, we could have at least one or two episodes out, and maybe they do this right, so maybe that's what we're about to get for this season. But I think, like, at least two of the episodes of each season should have been like some really good, well written courtroom drama style stuff, because
Mm-hmm.
I would be digging that back when I was like a kid or whatever. Like, I kind of wanted to be a lawyer, and but that's just because I wanted to have fun yelling at folks and stuff like that. But comes to find out that most lawyers don't get to do that, so it's kind of like, man, this sucks. Nobody wants to just handle uh, tax paperwork and shit, or none of that kind of crap. That's what most lawyers are, is just like showing up for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Those are our episodes for tonight. We will be back soon with episodes 7 and 8, where we will get a courtroom scene, of at least one, but probably several courtroom scenes coming up with the trial about to start for Punisher. Let's go around and give final thoughts. Matt, we'll start with you. Final thoughts and a score for these two episodes.
Yeah, I don't think that these moved the story forward that much, but it was cool to see a little bit of his past and how Elektra got in there. But I'd give the episode like a 7 and a 7.5.
Okay. Justin?
Um, Man, this might be the lowest scores, but I don't know if they really kind of deserve it. I just think they come off a super high and then go into these, and they just like, I watched them, pretty close after watching 3 and 4, and it's just like, man, like this would be, like I said, I might be giving these too low of a score because it might be unfair, because I don't think anything particularly was bad in the 2 episodes, but I just wrap them up around like a 6.5. Like, still enjoyable and everything, but and like I said, it might just be the bias of watching two great episodes, and then going into these 2 episodes and kind of uh, going a man, like when you say downhill, it's like when you're at the top of the mountain and you just go a little bit below that, you're still pretty close to the top of the mountain. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what I feel like here, and it really came to fruition. Like, I just kind of feel bad. And I will say this too, as like a final thought, is like homegirl is like, Reyes is like, yeah, we'll just give him one life sentence with the possibility of parole. But like the caveat that people need to understand there, that people might forget, is like, one of the things is he wasn't going to be able to be put like in like some kind of special population or whatever. He was going to have to be in the regular population, which means she was still trying to give him the death penalty by sending him to jail, because like a lot of people in there are part of these gangs and stuff that he was like messing with. So they're probably just going to kill his ass, like, and everything else. They weren't going to give him any protection. So he was getting the death penalty regardless
Mm-hmm.
when it comes down to it. So that's one of the things I think people didn't. And I think that's why he said what he said and said not guilty. But I don't know how the hell you can defend this guy. He pretty much caught red-handed, like out there shooting up, and he didn't wear a mask or anything. So he's just pretty
Yeah.
much. I mean, I don't even know what kind of defense you're going to have with this. So it's going to be interesting to see what they even try to do with that situation. I'll be interested in finding out like how they do it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Brandi, your final thoughts and score.
Episode 5 was 6.5, and then the 6 was 7. They're all right. The one when like I said, I was a little bit wasn't too interested when the Elektra stuff. I mean, she did all right, but it didn't like grab me like the Punisher stuff did.
Yeah.
And then the stuff with Punisher in it, and the stuff with Karen and her talking to him, and that was very deep and stuff, and I liked that. And yeah, so I gave that one a 7.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Unlike Matt falling asleep at the end of one of these episodes, I'm saving all my sleepy time of watching for the Defenders. I might be falling asleep during a couple episodes of the Avengers.
That's just totally not fair.
Yeah.
I give these 2 episodes a 7.
Mm.
They're not as good as the 2 that preceded them,
Yeah.
and there's one coming up in episode 9 that is also absolutely fantastic. Um, those are my 3 favorite episodes of Daredevil ever. Is 3, 4, and 9 of the season. So we will see how you guys think about those when we get to them. But we will be back sometime soon with episodes 7 and 8 of Daredevil as we make our way through this series leading up to Born Again on March 4th. We're going to try to get there by March 4th.
Oh, we would do it. We'll do it.
We'll do it. We'll do it. So check out the previous episodes that we've done. There's a playlist linked in the description of this episode. And until next time, guys, we are out of here. Bye.